Saturn in Pisces. Saturn has been in two of its ruling signs for the past many years. It was in Capricorn from 2017 to 2020, and then in Aquarius from 2020 to 2023. These are two of its naturally ruling signs, so we felt most at home, most comfortable in our disciplined, hard-working selves than we usually would in other Saturn cycles and transits. But now Saturn is entering Pisces. Some key words to describe Saturn in Pisces are introspective, spiritual, self-sacrificing, charitable, hopeful, full of faith, determined, distant, somewhat lacking boundaries, but patient and wise. Pisces is prone to fantasy, but is also very spiritual and very intuitive. Pisces is a sign of imagination and potent psychic instincts. Saturn and Pisces traditionally don't merge too well, and this is because Pisces is ruled by Neptune, the planet of illusions, psychic gifts, dreams, spirituality, and mysticism. When Saturn is in Pisces, we can be very ungrounded and not as practical and hardworking as we have been when Saturn was in its home signs. For some, this will actually be a breath of fresh air. It's a chance to slow down, connect to your roots, and embody more spiritual ways of being and perceiving. It's a perfect time to go inside, to introspect, soul-search, and contemplate. There's less focus on doing and more focus on being. You can certainly achieve and accomplish a lot, but the key is to know what your true passions and true destiny is. What are your dreams? What are your hopes and visions for the future? What rings true for your heart and your soul? Saturn in Pisces is not just about ambition, resourcefulness, energy, action, inspiration in a material sense, or making money. It's about what truly sets your soul and higher mind on fire. There's a dreamy and sensitive vibe to Saturn in Pisces. You're grounded in your fantasies and like to combine realistic, tangible forms of expression and manifestation with more mystical and sometimes illusion-prone ideas and concepts. Luckily, it's not a transit where you run away with the fairies or are prone to rose-tinted perception, as is the case with Pisces at a lower vibration. Pisces at a lower vibration can give into fantasy, addiction, escapism, and very illusional notions and ideas. There's a practical idealism associated with the Saturn in Pisces transit. Practical idealism can be merged with wisdom, higher pathways to the self. Your psyche and your subconscious are activated, meaning that you can more easily enter the dream states and dream worlds for real, tangible, and wise perspectives, ideas, and belief systems. Wisdom is amplified, patience is also increased, but you don't lose touch with your emotions. This is one of the main themes of a Saturn in Pisces transit. Emotional intelligence can be combined with higher mind intelligence. You can merge logic with instincts, rationality with imagination, and analytical thinking and perception with powerful intuition. Any idealistic and visionary tendencies that are traditionally associated with Pisces can be channeled, manifested, and grounded in a very practical and discerning way. Discernment is a key trait associated with Saturn in Pisces. There's a deep love of ritual too, spiritual routines that thrive off of a sacred essence. You may feel more inclined to create sacred space in your life, both at home and in your workplace and inside. Again, it's all about introspection, contemplation, and going within to find key answers and avenues to higher living. Saturn in Pisces creates a patient, spiritual, and deeply self-aware individual. There can be issues in boundaries, as this is common with Pisces, the final sign for old souls. But predominantly, it's more about the discernment, logic, and intuition that comes with maturity, specifically spiritual maturity. Charity, faith, and placing more emphasis on imagination and instincts, gut feelings, trust in the divine, over anything overly logical or rational, seems to take precedence during this 3-year cycle. You may find money and financial wealth and security increase through more pleasurable activities. Dance, self-care, artistic and imaginative expression, music, acting, poetry, writing, speaking, performing, entertaining. The list is endless. One thing to know, Pisces is exalted in Venus, or should I say, Venus is exalted in Pisces. This means that Venus is in its ideal placement in the sign of Pisces. Venus is the planet of love, beauty, sensuality, pleasure, luxury, and everything related to female and feminine wisdom and sensuality. This means that when Saturn is in Pisces, you will find an increase of resources, ambition, and passion related to the way you earn money through pleasurable activities. This is an excellent cycle for dreamers, artists, spiritual teachers and way showers, healers, therapists, and people who feel more of a resonance in the spiritual aspects of life over anything too tangible and material. Saturn in Pisces can bring out our need to join an eco-farm, an eco-village, or a permaculture community or project. It can bring out our need for selfless service, a desire to follow our highest calling through selfless service, such as joining an ashram. Themes of religion, spiritual enlightenment, illumination, and sincere acts of charity and selflessness feature in a Saturn in Pisces cycle. There's less emphasis on business, making money solely to serve material pleasures and intentions, and engaging in the hustle and bustle of life. We feel more inclined to create our own paths and follow higher spiritual ideals and pursuits. It's not about receiving abundance or financial security to continue the cycle of material accumulation. Any intentions for material wealth and money or resources are done with the intention to serve. Remember, Pisces is a 12th sign for old souls, and therefore the most mystical, spiritual, and imaginative signs. We find more pleasure in imagination, art, poetry, self-expression, self-care, and daily sacred rituals than we do in anything superficial. For people more prone to business and more logical and intellectual pathways, this may be a tricky transit. The last 2 years have seen Saturn in both Capricorn and Aquarius. This means that you've become used to the discipline, determination, and tenacity associated with Saturn and its naturally ruling signs. Saturn in Pisces shakes things up. There is a focus on discipline, but the self-discipline comes from a spiritual longing, a need to merge with the divine, the source of creation, something that serves the soul and the higher self, as opposed to the ego. There can be some confusion and illusion in a Saturn in Pisces cycle, especially with such strong notions of idealism. But predominantly, anyone who feels comfort in the spiritual, subtle, dream worlds and planes, ethereal and divine consciousness, and spiritual worlds and dimensions will find themselves thriving in this Saturn cycle. Astrology, numerology, tarot, psychic gifts, and divination. These are areas where you might find new sources of income or at least connections. Boundaries are something you may need to work on, especially if you have a lot of water in your natal chart. You may find yourself being pulled around with the currents, not knowing whether you're coming or going. Boundaries are a key issue for Saturn in Pisces natives and for anyone with strong Pisces and other water sign placements in their birth chart. Grounding is very important, as is allowing fantasies to flow so you can release and let go. What we resist persists. We must let energy flow for it to go in positive and empowering directions. There's nothing wrong with a bit of fantasy, or a bit of illusion in some cases, but being pulled around with the currents can make us miss out on real life changing opportunities, also nurturing the wrong type of relationships. Resistance is futile with a Saturn in Pisces transit. The more you resist, the more you give in to toxic, self-limiting, and old cycles of patterns, behaviors, and mindsets. If ever in doubt, in the Saturn in Pisces transit, which lasts until February 2026, remember to look within. Find redirection and guidance for your true source passions. It's not about denying or rejecting. It's also not about denying or dismissing the need for money and resources. It's more about alignment, aligning with your true north